You were born in a music family and you started so early. Was it a time when you knew you would become a musician, or it was just playing for you?
For me to become a musician was so natural because everybody around me played something. You know, kids played piano, violins, cellos. It was the culture pretty much in Novosibirsk, in Siberia, and especially in the environment where I was growing up. My father was a oboist in the orchestra. My mother led a choir of 500 kids. So I was going from one to another rehearsal, and all I was seeing, people played, conducted, or did some music or sang, and that's all I did. And for me, it was like breathing. Music was very natural, like one of my instincts.
And you chose violin because it was close to singing, you said at some point, no?
Yes, but also when I sat at my father's rehearsals, and you know, when he was playing oboe, you could never see oboe and the woodwind section. They're very far. So the only thing I saw is the violin section, which was just next to the audience. So I thought, why should I play oboe if nobody will ever see me? So that was my other choice.
Russian school is known for being very, very good in music, but also very strict. Was it hard for a child in Russia to study violin?
Oh, I remember my first month, even with my first teacher, Galina Turchaninova. She was already at her prime when I entered her class, and she was very strict. You know, she didn't look at me like a child. She looked at me like an adult, and I felt, I could feel and smell the expectations and the responsibility. So once you walk in the class, you have to fulfill certain obligations, and those obligations were when we learned something together, then she would say, okay, so for the next lesson you have to learn X amount of songs, which were sometimes 10 songs, which for a 5-year-old kid, and at that time I wasn't even 5, was quite demanding task. So we had to practice with my mother sometimes 6-7 hours a day. And when I came to the lessons, I didn't want to play for the teacher because she just was too strict, and I wanted to enjoy myself.
Yes.
So after a few lessons, when I refused playing, she said, you know, oh, sorry, I can't help you anymore. If the child doesn't want to play, then you should quit. And my mother, because we did so much work and she has given up, she started being emotional and she started crying. So I said, Mommy, don't worry, I'll play for you. And I played all the songs that we learned during that time, during week, and those were 17 songs.
Wow. In a week, in the first week of violin, at 4 years.
Yes, in the first week. So it was like considered to learn like sports. Yeah. It was so strict. But the advantage of that when I entered the Moscow Conservatory School at the age of 7, my entrance exam was Mendelssohn Concerto. E minor, first movement. Yes, at the age of 7. But you know, so at the age of 7, I could already play. Yeah. So I was, I could say I was accomplished violinist, but I could definitely play.
you hate your teacher at that time?
Absolutely.
Do you still hate her?
No, I loved her. It was the love and hate, because I knew that the lessons are going to be very hard, but after lessons, if I'm good enough, she's going to give me candies.
Oh!
So
She gave you candies?
she gave me candies, and the equivalent of it was 1 to 5 candies. If I was really great, I would get 5. And I already learned how to do the charity after that. Downstairs, where we hang our coats, there was an old lady that was taking our coats, so I would give her 2 candies, you know, out of my 5, so I had to pay my taxes.
This is a story to tell, but it's exactly what we know about Russian musical school. It's what I imagine about it. It's exactly.
But you see, the music and classical music, I think is the worst discipline, because you've got to learn, and especially the violin is such complex instrument. You have to learn how to almost breathe with that. You know, it has to become part of your body. You have to be able to express yourself. Then comes rhythm, then sound. It should sound well. Then you learn the music and all of this. This is on top, and that's just the beginning.
And then the position is not the most natural as the piano. The piano.
I always say to people, if you want to really understand how difficult the violin is, you just ask someone to hold your left hand in this position for 20 minutes.
Yes,
it would be the greatest punishment.
It is, of course. So you entered Zakhar Bron's class. You were already established as a musician in your surroundings.
I could play already. Yes. I was 10 and a half, and then came another dimension. Bron was a concert performer, and he would really train me for the interpretations. I learned actually how to obey.
To obey?
Obey in musical terms, because he would tell me what to do and how to play. And first thing I would say, I disagree, and why not like this and why not like that? And he would say, while you play in my class, you have to be a good soldier.
But you were saying this, quoting of him in another interview, that I know he would tell you, I don't know, I'm quoting, I know I can tell you a million things, and then in the concert you'll still do what you want.
Yeah, in the concert nobody could stop me, that's true.
It's great. I saw this footage of you and Vadim Repin in his class, and he was actually pretty strict with Vadim Repin, not so much with you, in that footage, but...
But it was good. I'm very blessed with my teachers. Both my first teacher, Galina Turchaninova, with whom I studied in Novosibirsk for 5.5 years, and then Bron, because there were 2 completely North and South Pole character teachers. The first teacher gave me all the freedom and love, and so I learned to almost improvise with the violin. Bron made me, put me in the tight frame, and I had to really follow his advice absolutely. And you need both as a musician.
Of course, and then you met, but some time after, you met Rostropovich, and I know he's very important to you.
Rostropovich was my musical mentor, was like my second musical father, who gave me so much, not only love and humanity, and added so much to my dimension as a human, but also musically he opened other doors of wonder doors in a different horizon. I learned the planet of Shostakovich, Prokofiev.
Because he knew them,
Britain,
no?
because he was studying with them, he was friends. So this is like getting to know the history. So because of my teachers and because of the great violinists of the past that I admired so much, I always tried never to detach myself from the past. Mm-hmm. And in Romania, and we are so lucky to have George Enescu. Yes. He's my greatest idol.
When did you hear his music?
Well, when I heard his
At the
music
first
for
time,
for
yes.
a long time, his great symphonies and his chamber works and his sonatas, it's amazing art. What is so special about his sonatas is that he's not only those are fantastic works, both written for piano and violins, equal partnership, like Brahms, I would say. You know,
He admired Brahms.
Yeah,
He met him also.
I would absolutely rate him on the same level with
Yes.
Brahms, musically, spiritually. But Brahms was not a violinist.
Oh.
And Enescu wrote for the violin so well. And that is like when I'm performing his second sonata now, I learned I'm totally in love with every note. I know he was playing and I adore his violin playing. Enescu's violin playing is, he's for us a greatest known musical fathers. Like, you know, if we have questions, we always want to hear Enescu, how did he do that? Or how did he do this? It's just almost unimaginable what he did in his life and all these professions that he learned so profoundly.
You mean also conducting, because I know you conduct now.
Also conducting, which he, by the way, started quite late.
Yes.
And only in few years, he was a candidate for New York Philharmonic. So he must have been a real genius, one of the few ones.
He was.
I would, you know, put him together in the same level like Russian Rachmaninoff.
talk about conducting now that I know that you conduct now and I saw you conducting also here. You went back to school to conduct. Did you need to go to school again? Like a few years ago, you started conducting as a pupil. I think you don't need that. You're a great musician, but why did you feel the need to go back to school to study conducting?
Many people misunderstand. They think of conducting about some elusive art. What does conductor do? And there is a lot of speculations. Now, if you really do know how to conduct, you can really make a difference. You can make a difference not only changing the tempis and speaking with the orchestra and actually trying to implement your interpretations in practice with using musicians, but you can influence the most important thing in the orchestra, and that's the sound. Mm-hmm. And every conductor should have the sound of his own or her own, if it's a woman conductor. Now the orchestra already has its, ideally should have its identity. When another conductor comes, so there is a fusion of colors, and that's the magic and beauty about basically why we need conductor, is to bring the conductor's sound identity. And sound identity, like in life, when people are speaking, and when we have been speaking today, tomorrow, we'll speak on the phone, I will recognize your voice. The same thing in music. The same thing with conducting, except that conductor's instrument is the orchestra. He doesn't have the instrument. His instruments is the hands. Hands and of course the soul, the heart, rational, emotional, and telepathy above all. So I would rate the conducting as a profession as probably the most complex one.
It is. You also teach, and I saw footage of you teaching, and I think you like it a lot.
Out of all my professions, playing, conducting, and teaching I regard as probably the most important one, because when you talk to a young musician that trusts you, especially when he or she trusts you, one word can change the course of the development, for the better or for the worse. So you have to know what to say, when to say, and when not to say, yes. When to look and when not to look. So it's very much psychology above all. So being a teacher is probably the most responsible job that I have.
And you did these amazing experiences with the UNICEF and the children from Kosovo and other parts of the world. How was it to meet all those children? And I imagine it's really impressive.
Yeah, since 1997, I'm involved with UNICEF as a Goodwill Ambassador. That allows me to travel to the places and to bring my violin wherever I do, and to play for people that normally would not go to concerts. And my violin is, sometimes I use it instead of speaking, because what can be more powerful when you want to give the message of peace to people and communicate with music? Nothing can be more powerful than this. I remember one of my first trips, I was in my early 20s. I went to Uganda and I saw kids that were already soldiers. They were 16, 17. It was kids that suffered trauma of war. When I wanted to talk to them, they would not respond. Their faces were pale and nothing. There was no connection between us. The minute I took the violin, they responded immediately. They saw this man is alive. He does something that we also do. And they had their own instruments, and we started improvising together.
Wow.
I've been to Uganda, I've been to many parts of the world.
Thailand.
Also, I did some very, very interesting projects in Romania, in the
Yes.
field countries here. We did fundraising events and also visited poor families here, and I played for them. Very, very touching experiences.
Which is your first memory in Romania, if I may ask?
First memory is one of my first concerts
Yes?
here.
And what did you think about?
In Bucharest. The audience.
Yeah.
The audience is just marvelous. They're warm, I think very close to my temperament, very responsive. They're very sensitive, they're very knowledgeable. You cannot lie to them. And I love to give my heart, and I know there is no resistance. They take it, and from that point of view, I just love coming to your country.
Do you have an advice for children they want to be like you? Because there are lots of them, lots of young musicians, they would dream to play like you. Is there an advice they can take from you?
I'm teaching in the Menuhin Academy in Switzerland.
Yes.
And I had many Romanian students, and I'm so happy to see them doing so well now in Romania and outside. And the first thing I tell them that I can see that their passion for music is so instant, so immediate. And my mission is to light the fire and to teach them how to always keep that. No matter where they go, they take this fire with them. And they infect, it's like a virus, good virus, other people with that. They should give passion and love, share. Sharing music is the most important thing. I love dancing.
Yes.
I did some tango course.
When?
When I was in my 30s, early 30s. I commissioned the concerto. It was composed by a wonderful Russian composer, Benjamin Yusupov. He wrote a viola, tango, rock concerto, where I had to do all different things in one concerto. I had to play viola, I had to improvise in rock style, and even dance tango with the partner. So it was an experimental project, and I wanted to be a bit crazy. But I really loved the dancing part of that. It was amazing, and I love dancing. Going to dancing club when I can.
Yes, you still do that?
If I have time, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Because when we dance, we communicate with our feet.
Yes.
And that's another way of communication.
Of course.
And then the whole body is active. Usually is my hands that are working, but when I learned tango, I learned that you have to be musical with your feet. So that's a complete workout.
Do you feel that classical music, is in crisis now? Because we were speaking earlier, and you said you didn't want light on the scene because you want people to listen more than look at you. And I think this is the approach that a maestro has to music. But there are some other, young artists, they want to be seen, and they do anything for that. And I think that's a crisis that classical music has now. Do you see that? Is this bothering you? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like the word crisis, because nothing is ever perfect, or nothing is ever negative. There is always beauty here and there. I think on the whole, there is a variety of music and genres that we can listen and see. We're almost lost. We can get lost in this diversity of things. When the young person is, let's say, 13, 14, goes on YouTube and starts going from one to another recordings, you can easily get lost. So what internet gives us, the possibilities, they're amazing. On YouTube you can find about everything, but the information is not classified. It doesn't really direct you anywhere. It just offers you a spectrum of things. And above all, the whole tendency is today that we listen today to music with our eyes. Everything must become visual, which I think goes totally against music, which is only normal, because music is written to listen. And if we really want to enjoy something, when we eat wonderful, tasty food, we close our eyes because we want to enhance the taste. So the same thing, in ideal world, we could close our eyes and listen. So the lights and all the effects, they take so much from the real essence of music. Be it a rock concert or something show with dancing and moving, yes, absolutely. And there is even some music, classical music, that requires you to see. Of course, the visual aspect enhances music, but it should not take away our attention from the most important organ, which is, by the way, the auditory organ is much more sensitive and stronger than our eyes.
Yes. I know you travel so much, and for such a long time, you started when you were 10 to tour. Do you still enjoy going from one city to another, or you need some time at home and you don't get to do that because you're here, look, and you make us happy?
There is probably 2 or 3 of myself. One person travels, enjoys this life, meeting people, playing, conducting, sharing music, teaching. Another person is very private, that I enjoy very much being with my family, my kids, 2 daughters, and that time is very precious. I don't have a lot of that time, unfortunately, but when I have, I fully enjoy and try to take full advantage of that, because that's my balance. It's very important to live harmoniously.
Yes. Do you teach them music?
Yes, they play. My elder daughter Elizabeth plays piano.
Okay.
And the little one, the Pauline, she plays piano and cello.
How old is she?
She's 4.
She wanted to play both?
Yes, she said, I think she's very envious of Elizabeth too, so she said, I want to play piano, but also cello.
Great. So if you don't dance, if you're not with your family, what else do you do to relax?
Play pool.
Yeah?
Yes.
Cool. Are you good?
I'm all right. I enjoy it. It's a time off, relaxation. I like to do some sports, going to nature, art galleries, some concerts if I have time.
You listen to rock music. Which band you like?
I just...
I read that.
I'm not fanatic of rock, but I think there is in rock there are some amazing things, and when I learned, I was always curious about that music, the electronic music. At the time, it gave me some extra adrenaline to my music, which I can use for some compositions, some contemporary works.
You want to write?
In the future, hopefully, one day.
Okay.
My idol is Enescu. He was a great composer, so...